That is a coffee.
Yeah, it's a coffee fruits. Coffee fruits.
Welcome to Take a Hike, the show where I take my favorite creators on hikes, pushing them to their limits, and then giving you a chance to get to know them a little bit better as well. Today we have none other than Kofi Yeboah, who is a filmmaker, photographer, YouTuber, and someone who will not give you a straight answer if they ask you to do a camera comparison without the context first.
Hi, hey, me. Guy that doesn't answer direct questions.
Kofi, I respect that though. Thanks for coming on the show.
Oh yeah, this is great. This is way warmer than Canada is right now.
Yes.
Cars start, and your car isn't trapped under 4 feet of snow, so it's kind of cool.
A little bit better.
Yeah.
So we just got to go over the one rule of the show.
Yeah.
If I ask you anything that you aren't comfortable with, or if we're going somewhere that you're not comfortable with,
Okay.
just tell me to take a hike.
Okay. I'm gonna keep that in mind. Keep that in mind for later. This might get used a lot.
The first question is, do you want to do the hike barefoot? Do you want to
Can I
join
say
me with
absolutely not before saying take a hike, or like does that have to?
Yeah, whichever.
Absolutely not. No. But also take a hike.
Okay, perfect.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's go. Okay, first question.
Okay.
Who are you and what do you do? How would you answer that?
It depends on who it is, because I'm pretty good at answering based on who asks. For people that like fully understand about like content creation, I'll say that. But when they ask like, what's your content about? It's more about video production, and then it kind of goes to the whole filmmaking space kind of thing. I work with a lot of athletes. I work with a lot of supplement companies, athleisure brands. YouTube's kind of more of a full-time thing now, but the YouTube content kind of depends on the production work I'm doing. So I can't make content unless I'm working. So I kind of have to do both, which is, well, not a have to do both, but like both makes the most sense. So really depends on who you're asking. If someone understands like YouTuber doesn't just mean like, I'm an unemployed loser that doesn't make money, then well, I'll say YouTuber. But if like someone doesn't understand that, I just tell them I'm in video production, make it simple.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, and then going back to kind of the cheeky intro.
Yeah.
Where you kind of won't answer that question of, is this camera better than this camera, without the context of like how they're actually doing that. I really respect it. Why do you do that?
Okay, so there's like a practical view and then there's a cynical view. So the practical view is quite literally you need context to make that decision. Because like besides a home and like a car, for people that are getting in the creative space, like a camera is your next most expensive thing. I couldn't tell you which house is better on face value. What do you need? Do you have kids? Do you need 2 garage? Like, you know what I mean? You need that context. Yeah. So I treat camera recommendations as the same way, because they're expensive. And if you make the wrong decision by just me, like if you make a decision based off my word with no context, which goes into the cynical view, sometimes I find that some people almost want you to be responsible for the decision-making kind of thing, where I don't want to do the research. You just tell me the answer. And I'm like, what's going to end up happening is that if it's the wrong answer, you won't say, oh man, I should have done more research. You'll say, oh no, that YouTuber recommended this camera I don't like. And I'm like, that kind of stresses me out to the point where like, not by a lot, but it becomes exhausting to have that conversation all the time. Yeah. Where I'm like, if you give me the most amount of context, at least we can mitigate the chances of like being disgruntled with that decision. Yeah. But also like the way that I consume content, the way like I kind of guess I assume people did it, was I assumed that it was just kind of data points. Like you already have your own things you need, and then I'm just looking for different things to check them off. And if they all get checked, I buy the thing. And if not, well, I keep moving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Speaking of moving,
let's keep going.
Second challenge.
What's that? No, it's not.
Do you want to go up?
Absolutely not. Take a hike.
Okay.
Take a walk. I don't know. Take a lap. I don't know what you got to take, but it's not up there.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, let's keep going.
Is that actually a climb you're gonna do?
Yeah.
Absolutely
awesome.
not.
It's not too bad.
That's not too. No, bring the camera. Bring the camera. No, Brandon, come here. Look at that. Look at it. Look at it. That's not too bad.
No. That's a
Do you
good
know
one.
how big I am? Not too bad. Get out of here. Ninja, we are in Ninja, my friends. Look.
Just make sure you're always on the lookout for any rare strawberry guavas.
Okay.
Still doing okay?
I'm doing okay so far.
Okay. Filmmaking. What's your favorite part about filmmaking?
I think the problem-solving aspect of it, because like I don't know, I grew up like kind of like a weird math kid, so like solving problems was cool. And now you do it in a way where like instead of seeing like the end of an equation, you see like an image. I'm like, oh, that's super cool, and you could find different ways to solve different problems, even if there's like no stakes involved, kind of thing. And that's kind of the cool part of it, right? Especially now, where like you can take an like there's so many accessible pieces of gear where you can just take it, shoot whatever you want, and then go back and be like, oh, this is the things I would change, or here's some of the things I learned. Like you could do that in real time, and that's my favorite part.
Yeah. Awesome. And then when it comes to YouTube,
Yeah.
what's your favorite part about YouTube?
Well, I think what's cool is that you could do the answer to the first question you can do on YouTube, and over time, what ends up happening is you start, A, you develop a style, B, you provide value to other people, which, like, it kind of just feels good. I think once you start doing it, it feels really nice. And then the third part about that, and I think what's cool now, especially like in 2025, is that now brand partnerships have kind of given you a way to make the things that you want to make and work on the projects you want to work on, right? Like, so like we both work with Artlist, right? So when I want to do a spec project and I'm like, oh crud, I wish I had the resources to get that studio, or I need a light that's just bright enough, I could partner with a company like Artlist or whatever sponsor you have, and that'll help me give the resources that problem solving thing. I could expand that because I now have some of the things I might not have beforehand.
Yeah, which I think brings us into today's sponsor, which is Artlist, the greatest all-in-one platform for all of your kind of video production needs. They have a massive library of music, of sound effects, of footage that you can use in your projects. There's AI voiceover options, different templates, plugins. They now even offer different LUTs that you can use on your projects. And the best part is, Artlist has put together all of their top tools into one place to make your editing as easy as possible. My favorite is the Artlist library extension. You can put everything that you love about Artlist right inside of Premiere Pro. So you can search, preview, and download all of those assets, music, sound effects. You can generate the AI voiceover, and you can save so much time by just dragging everything right into your timeline. So make sure to check them out. The link is in the description. They're the best. What would you say is something that you're currently learning or like growing in right now?
I think I'm growing into the idea, and I think this is something that a lot of people, especially if you're in like filmmaking YouTube, is kind of fully embracing all of YouTube. Because I think what ends up happening for sometimes is like, especially when you're like in professional video production or filmmaking, your first instinct is to be like, yeah, I'm on YouTube, but like I'm a real filmmaker, but like I just do, like, you know what I mean? Like you almost have to make the asterisk about that. It's like, I'm a YouTube filmmaker. And I'm like, you don't actually have to make that thing, because like the viewership on that platform is like, it's more than Netflix. You can just say you do YouTube and it's fine. Mind you, I talk out of two sides of my mouth when I'm talking about like, oh, like I do video production on the side or whatever. Yeah. But I think fully embracing the fact that like this is kind of a full-time thing, and it has its unique rules and perks and downsides and whatever the case might be. And instead of trying to like play both sides and try to get both benefits of things and kind of avoid anything that might be difficult or uncomfortable, I think embracing that, like, it's just rolling with the punches with a lot of things. Yeah. That's something I'm kind of like wrapping my head around now.
Yeah. I feel like if somebody tells me that they're a YouTuber, and maybe this is just because like, this is what I want to do or what I look up to, but like, if you say you're full-time YouTube, I know how, like, probably how long you've been like struggling and working, and how like success, I don't know, how hard it is to have success on the platform. I'm just like, holy crap. Like, you're
I think that's also because you're in it too, right? Like, for example, like, if you tell someone who's never been in a serving job that you're a server, their first inclination, like their perspective is way different than if like they're also a server and they're like, oh, you work at that restaurant, like you're a server at a breakfast restaurant. I understand what that struggle is like. Yeah. I think the same thing kind of happens on that. And because doing making content in general is not a very, like, it's not the vast majority of people making content consistently.
Yep.
And even less so that are monetizing, even less so that are doing it full time, even less so that are doing it full time successfully. That those degrees of separation down to like the average person, they have no idea what that means, right? So kind of also acknowledging like an everyday person has no idea what that means when you say, I'm on YouTube full time. They're like, oh, so like how do you make money? Or are you just broke all the time, right? So
Yeah. Also a personal question. What is something that you might currently be struggling with, or something that's challenging you right now?
I think it kind of goes into that balancing again, right? Like I think one of the big things, like when I started just doing freelance video and photo, like I was in a lot better shape. And I think when things got more busy, I was like, oh yeah, I'll get back in shape. Like it'll happen quick, it'll be whatever. And I said that in 2019, and I haven't done any of the actionable steps, despite the fact that I know better. I haven't done any of those actionable steps until like 2 months ago, where I'm like, oh yeah, like why did I not like at least try? And for the longest time was like, oh, well, you have to focus on your business. Then I thought about it, and I'm like, especially in a place like YouTube, like that's like underrated how important that is, right? Because your mental health is so much tied to your physical health, and your longevity on the platform realistically is just who has like the most mentally healthy people have the longest time on YouTube because they're able to roll with some of those punches. But also that has to do a lot with like making sure you're eating healthy. Do you sleep more than like 6 hours a night? Don't stay up all night every single day trying to finish an edit. And if you have to do that, maybe slow down or like you know what I mean? Like make those adjustments. Yeah. So I think the biggest thing I'm struggling with, and it's a struggle now because you're getting yourself back into shape, and that like initial first 6 months of like not doing much for 5 years sucks. Yeah. It's just remembering it's like, hey, it took you 5 years to get here. It's going to take you at least 2.5 to get out. So you better suck it up and just accept the fact that that's going to be your life now. Yeah. So I would say that would be a struggle, I think.
Anything you're practically doing to kind of like balance?
Yeah, so what I'll do, and like I think this is funny because we were talking about yesterday when I was like, oh, I'll go find like a gym I can go work out at that's 24 hours. So one of my things is I have like and I've been working on this a little bit, I have like if I travel X amount of times, like this is the program that I follow. If I travel no times, then you just go back to regular programming. Yeah. If it's like half and half, then you kind of like you adjust you're trying to achieve your goals based on like where you are. Because it's not every day, like I can't say I'm gonna train 4 days a week and do 45 minutes of cardio a day when like you're in the middle of Norway and there's no gyms around and you physically don't have time to do that because your job depends on you to be out all day. You can't do that and then beat yourself up when you don't do it and then you say screw it and then you don't do anything for the rest of the month. So you have to kind of have plans of like, okay, if I'm traveling for like 5 days, try to do exercise for like 2 of them, maybe 3 if you...
Dude, that you freaked me out there.
I thought that was you mentioned boars earlier and I'm like, hey, Pumbaa's out here to play. But yeah, so like trying to set up realistic goals based on where you are in life. Like right now, where I am in YouTube, things are just being thrown at you so fast. Where like I went from not being monetized and doing nothing and being like and hoping that like, hey, maybe I'll get like monetization to you leave the house I haven't been home for 30 days consistently for like 3 years. Wow. So you have to try to be like, okay, well, like what do you like? You can't create a system under the guise that you're home all the time. So you have to kind of set those things up in place. And that's kind of how I've been like maneuvering things. It's just only the middle of January that I'm like, yeah, you should do that. Despite the fact that I'm like, I've known better since like my early 20s. I don't know why I waited till 32 to do that, but hey, we move.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
Speaking
what are you struggling? What are you struggling with? Hey, hang on, I'm gonna put this back on ahead. What are things that what are some things that are a struggle? And then also I guess like what are some of the things that like you're excited about? Because you're growing your own channel as well too. Like you have the podcast, you have your own videos and stuff. Like what are some of those things for you?
This is funny. Nobody's ever asked me a question on.
Oh, well, we're gonna turn this on.
Like, that's not what this
Look
is.
at me. I am the captain now.
Yeah. I think the struggling wise, it's always like, okay, I've got 2 little kids. Yep. And my wife is a stay-at-home mom, which like I can't do anything I'm doing without her doing that. Yeah. So it's making sure that they're also a priority and balancing that. Like, man, I could stay in my office and edit all day, but I've got a wife and 2 kids who love me and want to see me and play. So it's like trying to find that balance. Yeah. What was the other one? What am I excited about? Yeah. Like I think what you were talking about, like what you love about YouTube is what I'm excited to get into. Like the more you grow as a creator, like the more work you get, but also like the more freedom to create the
Yeah.
things that you really want to create. So I'm excited to get to that place to like start to really create things I'm stoked about. And
I would even say from an audience perspective, like I correct myself, you're at 13,000 now.
yeah, 13 and a half.
13 and a half. So that was like, but the thing, like when I was at 13 and a half, that was exactly that like weird inflection point where it was like, oh, cool, I'm making some cool stuff, and like a significant amount of people like the stuff I do. Like if I think there's a stat where like it's 97% of YouTube channels don't hit 10,000. So like you're already in the 3%.
Crazy.
So then what ends up happening is that like there's a weird like upwards inflection that randomly happens somewhere in that kind of part, and exactly what you just said happens. The thing that I would have like recommend, because it's like literally that was me a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
The thing I recommend is like almost build up those systems where like, hey, when it gets crazy busy, like what are the things, how am I gonna prepare for this? Or it just go like a year will go by so quickly and you're like, oh shoot, like, have I called my family? Like, you know what I mean? Like I called my mom the other day and I'm like, oh crap, like I should do this more often. And this YouTube thing, like I have to be the one to slow that down or have something in place where you can still keep up with the rest of your life. So I think where things are where you are now from where that journey is, you're like right at that, like where that graph that goes like, you're like at the bottom point where like the next incremental step is larger than getting from 0 to 10. And it's not even an audience thing, just in terms of like being busy and working with different companies and going to different things. Like that point is like you're at the very bottom of that point, and then it just shoots up, and then it's got to be ready for it.
Which also like is very encouraging just to
Yeah.
hear, because I know, well, I'm sure you know as well, it's like there's just that grind where like you put out the video and like only 100 people watch it and you're like, what was it about that like nobody liked? I put my heart and soul in, you know what I mean?
Or what was it that 100 people liked?
That's true too.
And then I'll just do it again.
Crap, I got.
Yeah, like because also I find that like when the YouTube viewer kind of functions a little bit like a relationship. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, if you put out one good video, it's like, cool, awesome. I don't know if I'm gonna follow this guy, but I watched that. That's great.
Yep.
But when you do it a second time, you're like, okay. This Matt guy's really putting people through thorn bushes and stuff, and we have boars that are maybe behind us, but like, I'll watch, maybe we'll actually see one next time. And then you see another one, it's like, oh, you know what, I really do like that lens review. Like, you know what, I have that perspective. And then like it takes, I think for people, I think it takes like a couple of videos for them to be like, I'm gonna subscribe, because especially when you're like not there for 10 years, because it's hard to be like, okay, well, is this person gonna be there to stay around? Is it worth me like making a point to catch up with this person if I don't know how long they're gonna be there for? Yeah. But yeah, we're gonna have this conversation in like 6 months when I come back again, and we're gonna be like, hey, this thing happened. I'm like, told you.
Yeah. Not to like, because we gotta keep going on the hike, but just getting that comment of like, hey, I subbed.
Yeah.
I'm like,
oh yeah,
that's
it's
cool.
It's the nicest thing when someone goes out of their way to make sure that, because like when you see a subscriber count, you don't attribute it to a person until they tell you, and that's cool.
Yeah.
That's real cool. Like, and I would say, I'm gonna try to convince him to get to NAB. When you go, you'll get that. Oh man, I watch your channel, and you're like, oh, you're a real human.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now, like, because now the next time you make content, you're like, oh, I'm now making it because I want to make good on the value that I gave that person that told me that, right? So that's kind of encouraging. It's cool. Yeah, man.
Super cool.
All right, we're gonna go again?
Yeah.
All right.
Favorite segment of this show. It's the quick hitter hiking heaters. So 10 questions.
Okay.
As fast as you can go, don't think.
Okay.
People all over the world are sending me faxes, texts. They're like, we want Kofi to do quick hitter hiking heaters.
Yeah. That sounds like, I guess I'm ready because I'm already here and we're already at the base of this mountain. Like, do I have to climb the mountain while answering them?
No, but that would be a cool...
That would be a take a hike moment.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that. No, one thing at a time. Okay, I'm ready.
What's your favorite color?
Blue.
Favorite band or artist?
Ooh, Alexis on Fire.
Favorite food?
Hamburgers.
Favorite holiday?
Christmas.
How much sleep do you get every night?
7 exactly.
Favorite camera?
Ooh, that's so good. Depends on the context. I'm consistent.
Favorite YouTuber?
Depends on the context.
Biggest fear?
Spiders.
Does God exist?
Yes.
What's the first thing that you say to him when you see him?
My bad.
You survived.
There we go. I'm guessing right here.
Yes, right here. What do you think?
Ah, Baba. I'm gonna test that 32-bit float. This is cool.
Right?
This is dope.
We can launch the drone, see everything.
Oh yeah, no, you made a promise. Let me get up here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do a couple drone sends.
Holy. Okay, you did it.
We made it.
We're at the top.
We almost didn't make it, but we made it.
You killed it. Thank you so much. Just got last few questions.
All right, let's go.
Easy ones. What would you say is kind of the hardest obstacle that you've overcome in your life?
I want to say it was the one and only time I did a fitness competition, because that took 40 weeks. You really had to lock in. You had to, like, social events were non-existent near the end, and that was tough. And training was just really hard.
Yeah.
So I'd say that probably the hardest one.
Okay. What made that so tough?
I think because you got to, like, when some people will do like a fitness show prep in like 16 weeks, and 4 months out of your life in the grand scheme of things, not that much, but like 40 weeks when you're like freshly out of university and you barely have any money and you still want to hang out with your friends, like that's a giant thing to be like, I'm not going to do that for 40 straight weeks.
Yeah.
So I would say like this, the duration of time of almost spending a year kind of not doing something that not doing things that you enjoy for the last like quarter century. That was the toughest part, was kind of like acknowledging that one, like you had to give up one thing to get something else.
Yeah. And then the biggest question, what do you think is the point of life?
I think it's pretty simple. I think you find the things that you're good at. You find the people that you either want to do those things with, or people that you just want to spend time around, and then do everything to make that experience a little bit better, while at the same time leaving wherever situation you are a little bit better than when you started, right? For the most part, people do that in many different ways, right? Some people, their meaning of life is to have a lot of children, and that's their idea of leaving the world a little bit better than how they left it. Some people donate to charity. Some people will create business that employs people. Like, I think it's finding the thing you're good at, finding people you want to be around, and then just either preserving that or making that last as long as humanly possible.
If somebody's watching this and they want to get to the place that you're at right now, what kind of advice would you give them?
I'd say be very okay that it's going to take a while. Like, be like super okay with it, and you got to like it. I think that's what it is, right? Like, I think anybody no matter how talented you are, there's going to be periods where you're going to be putting up a lot of effort and not getting a lot back. And then just kind of enjoy it and try to find things that you enjoy about it, and that'll keep you in it.
Awesome. Okay. Dude, thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, man.
If for whatever reason you guys don't follow Kofi, all the links to his Instagram and YouTube will be below. Make sure you check out his channel, subscribe, do all that good stuff.
Hang on a second. Also, if you're watching this video and you haven't clicked subscribe on Matt's channel yet, we've got a bone to pick with each other. So make sure you do that as well.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Anytime, man.
And as always, I'll see you in the next video.
Peace.